I spent $61,000 building my dream home. 140 square feet of exactly what I wanted. No mortgage, no landlord, no clutter. And 6 months later, I was lying on my kitchen floor, which was also my living room floor, which was also basically my entire house. And I could not make myself get up, not because I was sick, because I didn't see the point. This video is about how a house that was supposed to set me free became the thing I felt trapped inside. And it's about the exact 5 things I changed that got me out of it, backed by actual research, not just vibes, because I went and found the studies after I lived through this. Before I go further, if you've ever downsized your life and felt worse instead of better, this video is for you. And I need you to stick around till the end, because the fixed part isn't what you think. And I'm going to show you the one change that mattered more than all the others combined. Hit subscribe now, so you don't lose this, because I'm about to walk you through the timeline most tiny home creators never show you. Here's what's coming. I'm going to show you exactly when things started going wrong. There was a specific week I can point to. I'm going to show you the research that explains why small spaces mess with your head, and why it's not the same for everyone. And at the very end, I'm going to tell you the one sentence a stranger said to me that changed everything. If you skip to the end for that, you're going to miss the context that makes it actually useful. So stay with me. Let's rewind. I built this thing because I was drowning. Rent in your city was eating X% of my paycheck. I was working a job I didn't love just to afford a 1-bedroom apartment I was barely home in. And then I found this whole world online. Tiny homes, van life, minimalism. And it looked like the answer to everything. And honestly, for the first few months, it kind of was. I paid off debt faster than I ever had. My utility bills dropped to almost nothing. I wasn't buying stuff I didn't need because there was literally nowhere to put it. I felt like I cracked the code that everyone else was too scared to try. I want to be clear about this part, because a lot of tiny home content skips it. The honeymoon phase is real. Financial stress is one of the biggest drivers of anxiety and depression in adults. And when you cut your housing costs by 70 to 80%, that weight actually does lift. I felt lighter. I felt like I bought myself freedom. The problem is, freedom and space are not the same thing. And I didn't understand that yet. Here's the timeline, as best I can reconstruct it. Month 1. Everything's a novelty. Cooking a full meal in a kitchen the size of a closet feels like a fun puzzle. Friends come visit and it's a tour, a party trick. Look how efficient I am. Month 3. The novelty's gone, but I'm still fine. I've settled into a routine. Month 5. Winter hits. And this is where it starts. I'm in your climate/season detail. And I'm suddenly spending way more time inside a space where I can touch both walls if I stretch my arms out. My desk is 4 feet from my bed, is 4 feet from my stove. There's no room I can go to when I want to feel like a different version of myself. No office to leave behind when the workday's over. No living room that isn't also the place I sleep. Every part of my life started happening in the same 8-foot radius. There's actual research on this, and it surprised me when I found it. A study out of Hong Kong looked at people living in units smaller than about 140 square feet and found a clear link between that dwelling size and higher rates of anxiety and depression, plus a measurably lower quality of life compared to the general population. And a 2018 Swedish study found that living in cramped, overcrowded conditions had what researchers called a significant correlation with mental health problems. Worse sleep, higher stress, less patience. But here's the detail that actually explained my experience specifically. An environmental psychologist named Dak Kopek has talked about how tiny living tends to work fine for people in their 20s, but gets harder in your 30s and 40s, when the pressures of a demanding job and a more complicated life turn a tight space from cozy into what he calls a drain on your psychological resources. I moved into my tiny home at 34. That timing was not a coincidence. Month 6, the floor moment, the one I opened this video with. I remember thinking something that scared me. I built a beautiful trap. I had done everything the videos told me to do. I downsized. I'd simplified. I cut my expenses. And I felt worse than I ever had in a cramped apartment with 3 roommates and a mountain of debt. Now, before I tell you what I did about it, I want to name something, because if you're watching this and you're currently in a small space feeling exactly like I did, I don't want you to think the answer is just move out and buy a bigger house. That's not what fixed it for me. And it's probably not realistic for you either. What actually fixed it is coming up in 2 minutes, and it costs way less than you'd think. Keep watching. I want to rule some things out first, because I spent weeks blaming the wrong stuff. It wasn't the size of the house itself. I know that sounds contradictory given everything I just said, but stay with me, because plenty of people thrive in small spaces. Some of the same research I mentioned also found that an active, intentional lifestyle with fewer distractions can genuinely reduce anxiety and boost overall satisfaction. Tiny living isn't inherently bad for your brain. It's conditional. It also wasn't a lack of willpower. I want to say that directly, because if you're struggling in a small space right now, the problem isn't that you're not minimalist enough or grateful enough. That framing is actually part of what kept me stuck. I kept telling myself I should feel lucky, which made me feel worse for not feeling lucky. What it actually was, once I dug into it: isolation, sensory overload, and the total collapse of zones in my life. Let me break those down, because each one had its own fix. 1. I stopped living completely alone with no community around me. One of the quieter findings in tiny home research is about isolation. A lot of communities don't zone for tiny homes inside city limits. So tiny homeowners end up pushed out to remote plots of land, cut off from the casual, everyday social contact that keeps most people mentally steady. That was me. I was parked outside city limits / on rural land, with almost no one nearby. The fix wasn't moving. It was scheduling. I started deliberately building at least 3 in-person social touchpoints in every single week. Not someday when I feel up to it, but on the calendar, non-negotiable. A co-working day, a standing coffee with one friend, a class, a gym, anything with a regular human face attached to it. This sounds small. It was the single biggest lever I pulled. 2. I created zones inside a space that technically didn't have room for zones. Remember what I said about every part of my life happening in one 8-foot radius? I fixed that with almost no square footage. I used a curtain, a folding screen, and even just lighting to signal to my brain, this corner is for work, this corner is for rest. I turned my desk to face a different direction than my bed. It sounds almost too simple to matter, but your brain uses spatial cues to switch modes. And when every cue is identical, your brain never gets to switch off. Environmental psychology backs this up. Cluttered, undifferentiated space is repeatedly linked to higher stress and worse focus, while spaces that are organized with clear purpose are linked to people reporting they feel calmer and more able to concentrate. 3. I stopped treating outside as optional. In a normal-sized home, you can wander from room to room and feel like you've had a change of scenery. In a tiny home, you can't. So going outside stopped being a nice-to-have and became a literal mental health requirement. I started taking every phone call as a walk. I ate breakfast outside whenever weather allowed. There's actual research tying a change in physical scenery to a real, measurable boost in happiness. And when your indoor scenery genuinely cannot change, outdoor scenery has to do that job instead. 4. I got honest about the financial trade-off I was actually making. This is the part nobody talks about. Tiny living solved my money stress, and for a while, I let myself believe that solving money stress meant I'd solved all my stress. It didn't. Financial pressure and emotional / spatial pressure are 2 completely separate systems, and fixing one doesn't automatically fix the other. Once I stopped expecting the low bills to also fix my mood, I stopped being confused and disappointed every time I felt bad despite having no reason to. 5. I built one space, inside or immediately outside the house, that was mine and mine alone for a specific purpose. For me, it ended up being a small outdoor sitting area I built myself over one weekend. Nothing fancy, a chair, a side table, a roof over it. But it became the one place in my life that wasn't the whole house. That distinction, having even one square of the world that isn't doing 5 jobs at once, mattered more than I expected going in. One more thing I have to mention, because it surprised me, and it might surprise you too. Relationships take a different kind of hit in a tiny space. If you live with a partner, roommate, or kid in a small footprint, there's a reason "give me some space" becomes a genuinely loaded phrase, because there isn't any. Research on crowded households has found that kids growing up in tight quarters show higher rates of loneliness and stress, and parents in those homes report worse sleep and less patience with their kids. If you're doing this with other people, zone number 2, the different corners for different modes fix, isn't optional. It's the difference between a small home that feels cozy and one that feels like a pressure cooker. I still live tiny. I didn't move into a bigger place, and I'm not telling you to. What changed wasn't the house. It was everything I built around the house. The people, the zones, the outside time, the honesty about what money could and couldn't fix. I'm not going to sit here and tell you tiny homes are secretly perfect for everyone and the internet lied to you. The research is genuinely mixed, and I think that's the honest answer. Dwelling size on its own isn't the deciding factor. What predicts whether a small space helps you or hurts you is whether you're isolated or connected, whether the space has any differentiation in it at all, and whether you're in a season of life, like your 30s, with a demanding job and a lot of complexity, where a tight space asks more of you than it used to. If you take nothing else from this video, take this. Struggling in a small space doesn't mean you failed at minimalism, and it doesn't mean tiny living is a scam. It means your environment and your mental health are more tangled together than most content in this niche wants to admit. That's not a dramatic revelation. It's just true, and it deserves more honesty than a highlight reel of a perfectly styled 200 square foot kitchen usually gives you. Now, the thing I promised you at the start, the sentence that changed everything for me. A friend visited about 7 months in, looked around at my 4-foot radius of a life, and said, "You didn't downsize your house. You downsized your whole life to fit the house." And that's when I understood I hadn't been fixing my life to fit inside 140 square feet. I've been shrinking my life down until it fit. That's the reframe that got me off the floor. The house wasn't the enemy. The house was just small. It was on me to build a life around it that wasn't. If any part of this felt familiar, if you're in a small space right now and you can't figure out why you feel worse instead of freer, I want you to try just one of the 5 things I mentioned this week. Not all 5. 1. My guess is it'll be number 1 and number 2. Tell me in the comments which one you're going to try. And if you've lived tiny yourself, I actually want to hear whether your experience matched mine or went the opposite way, because from everything I've read, it really does go both ways depending on the person. If this helped, subscribe. I'm going to be covering the follow-up to this soon. What I'd do differently if I build a tiny home again from scratch. You don't want to miss that one. Thanks for watching Tiny Home World. I'll see you in the next one.